Broke janitor kneels to fix her shoe. Unaware she's the CEO of the company that just fired him, Darius Coleman had exactly $37 in his bank account when they fired him. Budget cuts, his supervisor said, not meeting his eyes. Nothing personal, Coleman, just business. After 12 years of cleaning Harrison Global Tower, 12 years of emptying trash cans, mopping floors, working night shifts while everyone else slept, Darius was out. No severance, no 2 weeks' notice. Just a final paycheck that wouldn't even cover next month's rent. "Can I at least finish my shift?" Darius asked, thinking about the overtime he desperately needed. "Security will escort you out. Company policy." At 43 years old, Darius found himself walking through the lobby of Harrison Global for the last time, carrying a box with his few possessions, a spare uniform, his lunch container, a photo of his late wife. He'd worked here since he was 31, since before his wife Simone got sick, since before the medical bills destroyed their savings, since before cancer took the only woman he'd ever loved, leaving him alone with debt and grief and a job that barely paid the bills. But it had been steady work, honest work, something to wake up for when sleeping felt easier than living. Now even that was gone. Darius pushed through the revolving door into the Seattle rain, his uniform still on because he hadn't had time to change. His supervisor had literally walked him out mid-shift. He stood on the sidewalk, rain soaking through his jacket, and felt the weight of it all. The unpaid bills, the overdue rent, the empty refrigerator at home. He was too old to start over, too tired to fight anymore. "Excuse me, sir?" Darius turned to see a young woman in expensive business attire trying to flag down a taxi. She was blonde, beautiful, clearly wealthy, the kind of person who never noticed people like him. Her heel caught in a sidewalk grate, and she stumbled. The taxi drove past without stopping. "Damn it," she muttered, trying to free her shoe. Darius should have walked away, should have focused on his own problems. But 12 years of service work had ingrained certain habits. You help when you see someone struggling, even when your own world is falling apart. He knelt in the rain beside her, his uniform soaking through. "Let me help with that." "Oh, you don't have to. Your heel's wedged pretty good." Darius gently worked the shoe free, his hands steady despite everything. "There you go." The woman looked at him, really looked at him, and something in her blue eyes was kind. "Thank you so much. You're a lifesaver." "Just doing what's right, ma'am." Darius stood, rain dripping from his hair. "Are you okay? You look..." She hesitated. "You look like you're having a rough day." Darius laughed, the sound bitter. "You could say that. Just got fired. After 12 years with this company." He gestured to the Harrison Global Tower behind them. "They fired you? Why?" "Budget cuts. I'm a janitor. We're expendable." Darius realized he was sharing too much with a stranger and stepped back. "Sorry, that's not your problem. Hope your shoe's okay." "Wait," the woman started. But Darius was already walking away, into the rain, toward a bus stop and an uncertain future. He didn't look back, didn't see the woman watching him with an expression that was part guilt, part fury, and part something else entirely. He didn't know that the beautiful stranger whose shoe he'd fixed was Adrienne Harrison, CEO of Harrison Global, the 35-year-old prodigy who'd taken over her father's company 3 months ago. He didn't know that his kindness, offered freely in his worst moment, was about to change everything. All Darius knew was that he'd been fired, he was broke, and he'd just helped someone who probably wouldn't remember him by tomorrow. He was wrong about that last part. Hello, my Stop Racism family. Thank you for tuning in today. Before we dive deeper into this beautiful love story, I want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your country and state in the comments below. Also, I'd love to know your thoughts. What did you think of the story so far? Do you believe love can truly conquer prejudice? Let us know in the comments. We love reading them. And trust me, your words motivate us to keep making these videos. Let's make this video reach at least 50 comments. Your support means the world to us, and it drives us to create even more meaningful content for you. So don't forget to comment, share, and keep spreading love. Adrienne Harrison stood in the rain long after the janitor walked away, his words echoing in her mind. Just got fired. after 12 years with his company. She'd been CEO of Harrison Global for exactly 93 days. 93 days of discovering that the company her father built, the company she'd idolized her whole life, was rotten from the inside. Discrimination lawsuits swept under the rug. Whistleblowers silenced with NDAs. A toxic culture where profit mattered more than people. And apparently, firing loyal employees without cause. Adrienne pulled out her phone, water dripping on the screen, and called her assistant. "Beth, I need something. There was a janitor fired today from Harrison Global Tower. I need his file, all of it. And I want to know who authorized the termination." "Ma'am, there were 3 janitors let go today. Budget cuts from facilities management." "3?" Adrienne's voice went cold. "Who approved that?" "Gerald Westbrook, your VP of Operations." Gerald, her father's old friend, the man who'd been with the company for 30 years and resented that Adrienne, not him, had inherited control when her father retired. "Get me those files, now, and schedule a meeting with Gerald first thing Monday morning." Back in her penthouse that night, Adrienne couldn't stop thinking about the janitor, the way he'd knelt in the rain without hesitation, the dignity in how he'd helped her despite having just lost his job, the sadness in his dark eyes when he'd said, "We're expendable." She reviewed the files Beth sent over. 3 janitors, all with over 10 years of service, all black, all fired on the same day with the excuse of budget cuts. But Harrison Global had just posted record profits. There were no budget cuts. This was something else. One file stood out. Darius Coleman, 43 years old, 12 years of service, perfect performance reviews, never missed a day except when his wife was dying of cancer 4 years ago. Adrienne read the medical leave paperwork, the notes about his wife's illness, the fact that he'd come back to work 3 days after her funeral because he couldn't afford to miss more time. Her chest tightened. This man had given everything to her company, and they'd thrown him away like trash. She looked at his employee photo. A dignified face, kind eyes, the exhaustion of someone who'd been through hell but kept going anyway. This was the man who'd helped her in the rain, who'd been fired unjustly, who represented everything wrong with her father's company. Adrienne made a decision that would change both their lives. Monday morning, she walked into Gerald Westbrook's office without knocking. "Adrienne, I wasn't expecting. Why did you fire 3 janitors on Friday?" No preamble, no politeness. Gerald shifted uncomfortably. "Budget cuts. I sent the memo. We just posted record profits. Try again. Look, those positions were redundant. We're streamlining. All 3 were black. All 3 had over 10 years of service, and none of them were given proper notice or severance." Adrienne's voice was ice. "That's not streamlining. That's discrimination. Now, wait just a minute." "No, you wait. I've been reviewing every termination you've approved in the last 6 months. There's a pattern, Gerald, and it's illegal." Adrienne leaned forward. "You're fired. Effective immediately. Security will escort you out." "You can't do this. Your father—" "My father isn't CEO anymore. I am. And I'm cleaning house, starting with you." After security removed Gerald, Adrienne called Beth. "I want those 3 janitors rehired. Today. Full back pay. And I want Darius Coleman specifically brought to my office. Tell him I want to apologize personally." "Ma'am, is that wise? Having a janitor in your office?" "He's not just a janitor. He's a man who was treated unfairly by this company, and I'm going to make it right." Adrienne didn't examine too closely why she cared so much about Darius Coleman specifically, why his face kept appearing in her mind, why she remembered every detail of that moment in the rain. She told herself it was about justice, about fixing her company's wrongs, but deep down, she knew it was more than that. The way he'd helped her without expecting anything, the dignity in his exhaustion, the kindness in his eyes despite having just lost everything. Darius Coleman had reminded her that good people still existed, that her company employed people worth fighting for, and she was going to fight for him, even if she had to burn down everything her father built to do it. Darius was filling out job applications in his tiny studio apartment when his phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello, Mr. Coleman?" This is Beth Morrison from Harrison Global HR. I'm calling to inform you that your termination has been reversed. You've been rehired effective immediately, with full back pay for the days you missed. Darius dropped his pen. What? There was an error in the termination process. The decision has been overturned by our CEO. She'd also like to meet with you personally to apologize. Would you be available tomorrow morning at 9? The CEO wants to meet with me. Darius couldn't process this. CEOs didn't meet with janitors. Are you sure you have the right person? Darius Coleman, employee ID 43827. Yes, sir. We're certain. Can we expect you at 9 a.m.? Yes, I'll be there. After hanging up, Darius sat in shocked silence. He'd been rehired. By the CEO? What the hell was happening? The next morning, Darius wore his best clothes, khakis, and a button-down shirt he'd bought for Simone's funeral. He arrived at Harrison Global at 8:45, nervous and confused. Beth met him in the lobby. Mr. Coleman, thank you for coming. Ms. Harrison is expecting you. Darius followed her to the executive floor, a place he'd cleaned 1,000 times, but never during business hours, never as a visitor. Beth knocked on massive double doors. Ms. Harrison, Mr. Coleman is here. Send him in. Darius walked into the most impressive office he'd ever seen. Floor-to-ceiling windows, expensive furniture, modern art on the walls, and behind a massive desk sat the woman from the rain. Darius froze. You. Adrienne stood, and her smile was genuine. Hello, Mr. Coleman. I don't think I properly introduced myself on Friday. I'm Adrienne Harrison, CEO of Harrison Global. You're the CEO? Darius's mind reeled. I helped the CEO fix her shoe, and then complained about getting fired. To the CEO. You did, and I'm very glad you did. Adrienne gestured to a chair. Please sit. We have a lot to discuss. Darius sat carefully, still processing. Ma'am, I don't understand what's happening. What's happening is that you were fired unjustly, along with 2 other long-term employees, all on the same day, all black, all by a VP who had a pattern of discriminatory terminations. Adrienne's voice was firm. That VP no longer works here, and I want to make things right. You fired a VP because of me? Because of systemic discrimination I won't tolerate in my company. You were the catalyst that made me look deeper. And Mr. Coleman, I owe you an apology, not just for your wrongful termination, but for the fact that this company took advantage of your loyalty for 12 years. She pulled out a folder. I reviewed your file. Your performance reviews are exemplary. You never missed a day except when your wife was ill. You've gone above and beyond countless times, and this company repaid that dedication by throwing you away without notice or severance. Darius felt his throat tighten. I just did my job. You did more than your job. And Friday, in the rain, you helped a stranger when you had every reason to focus on your own problems. That says everything about your character. Adrienne leaned forward. Mr. Coleman, I want to offer you something. Not just your old position back, though that's available if you want it. I want to offer you a position in our new Facilities and Operations Department. Supervising position. Better pay, benefits, normal hours. You'd be helping me rebuild how this company treats its employees. Darius stared at her. You want to promote me? From janitor to supervisor? I want to promote a good man who deserves better than he's gotten. Someone who understands what it's like to be overlooked and undervalued. Someone who'll make sure others aren't treated the way you were. Why are you doing this? Darius asked quietly. Is this guilt? Charity? It's justice and recognition of talent that's been ignored. Adrienne met his eyes. But honestly, it's also because you helped me when you didn't have to, when you'd just been hurt by this company. That showed me the kind of person you are, and I want people like you helping me fix Harrison Global. Darius looked at this woman, this powerful CEO who could have ignored him, who'd instead fired a VP and upended company policy to make things right. She was young, beautiful, clearly brilliant, and she was offering him a lifeline when he'd been drowning. Can I think about it? He asked. This is a lot to process. Of course, take a few days. But Mr. Coleman, Darius, I hope you'll say yes. I think we could do good work together. As Darius left her office, his mind spinning, he had no idea that this was just the beginning, that Adrienne Harrison would become more than his boss, That the woman whose shoe he'd fixed would become the woman who'd help him heal from grief, rebuild his life, and find love he'd thought impossible after Simone. But standing in the elevator, his heart lighter than it had been in years, Darius allowed himself to hope. Maybe good things could still happen. Maybe life wasn't over just because he'd lost Simone. Maybe, just maybe, kneeling in the rain to help a stranger had been the moment everything changed. Darius accepted the position. How could he not? It was double his janitor's salary, normal hours, benefits that included health insurance he desperately needed. But more than that, it was Adrienne's belief in him, the way she'd looked at him and seen potential instead of just a janitor. That meant more than the money ever could. His first day in his new role was overwhelming. An actual office, a desk, business cards with his name and the title Facilities Operations Supervisor. "You okay?" Adrienne appeared in his doorway, coffee in hand. "You look shell-shocked." "I'm still processing. 3 weeks ago I was mopping floors. Now I have an office." "You earned this. Don't let anyone tell you different." Adrienne set the coffee on his desk, made exactly how he liked it, though he'd never told her. She must have asked someone. The gesture touched him more than it should. Over the next few weeks, Darius worked harder than he ever had. He reviewed every facility's employee, their pay, their conditions. He found patterns of discrimination and exploitation. Workers paid minimum wage for skilled labor, denied proper safety equipment, overlooked for promotions. "It's worse than I thought," he told Adrienne during a weekly meeting. "We have people who've worked here 20 years making barely above poverty wages. Fix it." Adrienne's voice was steel. "I don't care what it costs. Pay people fairly. No one should work for Harrison Global and still struggle to feed their families." Darius implemented sweeping changes, raised wages, improved conditions, started a program where facilities workers could advance to other departments if they wanted. And through it all, he worked closely with Adrienne. Strategy sessions turned into long conversations. Business meetings became moments of real connection. He learned she'd grown up lonely despite wealth, that she'd watched her father build a company that valued profit over people and vowed to be different, that she'd been lonely her whole life, surrounded by people who wanted her money, her name, her connections, but never her. "You're the first person in this building who didn't want something from me," Adrienne admitted one evening. They were working late, reviewing employee feedback surveys. "When you helped me in the rain, you had no idea who I was. You just helped because it was right. That's what decent people do," Darius said. "Decent people are rarer than you think." Adrienne looked at him with an intensity that made his breath catch. "You're rare, Darius. Don't forget that." Darius went home that night thinking about blue eyes and a smile that made him feel seen for the first time since Simone died. He was falling for his boss, his CEO, the woman so far above his station they might as well be different species. It was impossible, inappropriate, completely insane. But his heart didn't care about logic, and from the way Adrienne looked at him, like he mattered, like he was more than his past or his job title. He wondered if maybe, impossibly, she felt it too. "This is a bad idea," he told himself, but he couldn't stop smiling. How's this story hitting you so far? Tell us in the comments. If you're loving it, type 1. If not, type 0. We want to know what you think. The first time Darius made Adrienne laugh, really laugh, not the polite CEO laugh she used in meetings, was during a facility tour gone wrong. A pipe burst on the 3rd floor, flooding the hallway. Adrienne insisted on seeing the damage herself. She stepped in a puddle, slipped, and Darius caught her before she fell. For a moment, they stood close, her hands on his chest, his arms around her waist, both breathing hard, both acutely aware of the other. "Careful, boss," Darius said softly. "Can't have you falling." "Too late," Adrienne whispered, and the look in her eyes said she wasn't talking about the puddle. Darius released her quickly, professional boundaries slamming back into place, but the moment lingered between them. Charged, electric, impossible to ignore. The office gossip started soon after. The CEO and the former janitor working too closely, staying late together too often. looking at each other with something that definitely wasn't professional. "People are talking," Adrienne's assistant Beth warned her, "about you and Mr. Coleman. Let them talk." Adrienne didn't look up from her laptop. "Ma'am, he was a janitor 3 months ago." The optics of promoting a talented employee who was being wasted in his previous role. The optics of recognizing merit over class? Those sound pretty good to me. Adrienne's voice was sharp. "Unless you're suggesting there's something inappropriate about two people working together?" "No, ma'am. Of course not. But there was something inappropriate?" Darius felt it every time Adrienne smiled at him, every time their hands brushed passing documents, every time he caught her looking at him with an expression that made his heart race. He was 43. She was 35. He was a widower from South Seattle who'd worked manual labor his whole life. She was a billionaire CEO from Mercer Island who'd attended Harvard. They had no business being attracted to each other. Except Darius couldn't stop thinking about her. The way she'd fought for him. The way she saw him as a man worth promoting, worth listening to, worth knowing. The way she looked at him like he mattered. "I think Ms. Harrison likes you," Janice, one of the cleaning staff Darius now supervised, said one day. Likes you. Don't be ridiculous. I've worked here 20 years. I know what attraction looks like. And that woman lights up when you walk in a room." Darius wanted to dismiss it, but he'd noticed it too. The way Adrienne's face changed when he arrived for meetings. The way she found excuses to ask his opinion on things outside his department. The way her smile was different with him, more genuine, less guarded. The breaking point came during the company holiday party. Adrienne stood across the room, stunning in an emerald dress, surrounded by board members and executives. But her eyes kept finding Darius, who stood awkwardly in his borrowed suit, uncomfortable at this fancy event. Finally, she excused herself and crossed to him. "Dance with me." "I don't think—" "Please, Darius. One dance. I've been cornered by boring executives for 2 hours. Save me." He couldn't refuse. They moved to the dance floor, and when Adrienne stepped into his arms, it felt like coming home. "Thank you," she said softly as they swayed, "for being here, for being real. Everyone else at this party wants something from me. You just want to dance. I want more than that," Darius admitted before he could stop himself. Adrienne's breath hitched. "What do you want?" "You. But that's impossible." "Why?" "Because you're you and I'm me. Because I was a janitor 6 months ago. Because people already gossip. Because we're from different worlds." Adrienne's voice was sad. "Darius, I've dated men from my world. They were boring, shallow, and only wanted my money or my name. You're the first man in years who sees me as a person. Adrienne, I know all the reasons this doesn't make sense. The class difference, the optics, the fact that you work for me." Adrienne looked up at him, vulnerable in a way he'd never seen. "But I can't stop thinking about you, about that day in the rain, about how you helped me without knowing who I was, about how you see me, really see me, not just the CEO mask. You're my boss. Then quit. Find another job. I'll give you the best reference of your life." Adrienne's hand tightened on his. "Or stay. Let's figure out how to navigate this together. But Darius, don't walk away because of fear or propriety or what people might think. Walk away only if you don't feel what I feel." Darius looked at this incredible woman, powerful, vulnerable, offering him something he'd thought died with Simone, a chance at love, at happiness, at building something new from the ruins of his old life. "I feel it," he whispered. "God help me, I feel it too." Adrienne smiled, radiant and relieved. "Then we figure it out, together." They left the party early, driving to a quiet overlook with a view of Seattle's lights. They talked for hours, about Simone, about Adrienne's lonely childhood, about fear and hope and the courage it takes to try again. "I'm scared," Darius admitted, "of getting hurt again, of not being enough for you. I'm scared too, of people saying you're only with me for money, of this not working out, of losing the best thing that's happened to me in years." Adrienne took his hand. "But I'd rather try and fail than spend my life wondering what if. What if it works?" Darius said softly. "Then we'll have beaten the odds. Two people from different worlds building something impossible. They kissed for the first time there, overlooking the city, and it felt like everything clicked into place. Like the universe had been waiting for this moment. Like a broke janitor kneeling to fix a stranger's shoe had been the first step toward this, toward them. They tried to keep it quiet at first. Professional at work, personal after hours. But hiding love is like hiding sunshine. Eventually, it shows through. People noticed. The way Adrienne smiled when Darius entered a room. The way he looked at her like she was precious. The long meetings that ran past midnight. The coffee runs they took together. The whispers started. She's sleeping with him. He's using her for her money. She's having a midlife crisis. He's a gold digger. The worst comments were laced with racism, about a black man taking advantage of a white woman, about him not knowing his place, about her lowering her standards. Darius heard them and wanted to quit, to protect Adrienne from the gossip, the judgment, the ugliness. "Don't you dare," Adrienne said when he suggested it. They were in her penthouse, cooking dinner together, one of their favorite things. Don't let them win. Don't let ignorance destroy what we have. But it's affecting you. Your reputation, my reputation. Darius, my reputation used to be as an Ice Queen CEO who never smiled. Now people see me happy. I don't care if they disapprove of why. Adrienne took his hands. "I love you." Say it, "I love you." And I don't care who knows. It was the first time either had said those words. Darius felt them sink into his chest, warm and terrifying and perfect. "I love you too," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "More than I thought I could love anyone again." They stood in her kitchen, holding each other, knowing the hard part was just beginning. The board meeting where they had to disclose their relationship was brutal. 12 wealthy white men in suits, most older than Darius's father would have been, staring at him like he was a stain on their perfect company. "Ms. Harrison, surely you can see how this looks," board member Thompson said, his voice condescending. "The CEO and a former janitor? The optics are terrible. The optics of me dating a talented employee I promoted based on merit?" Adrienne's voice was ice. "Or the optics of this board being concerned about a relationship between two consenting adults? It's inappropriate. What's inappropriate is this line of questioning. Darius Coleman is an exceptional employee. He's transformed our facilities department, saved the company millions in efficiency improvements, and created programs that have improved employee satisfaction across the board. His previous job title is irrelevant. But he works for you. Darius has offered to transfer to a different department to avoid any appearance of impropriety. But let me be clear. I won't hide my relationship to make you comfortable. If this board has a problem with me dating someone who was a janitor, that says more about your classism than about his character." The room went silent. Then board member Chen, the only woman besides Adrienne, spoke up. "I've reviewed Mr. Coleman's work. It's exemplary. Ms. Harrison is right. If we have an issue with this relationship, it's because of our own biases. I move we approve the disclosure and move on." The vote was split, but enough members supported them. Darius and Adrienne could continue their relationship without hiding. But public support was different from private acceptance. Over the next few months, they faced subtle discrimination. Invitations to exclusive events that didn't include Darius. Society pages that mentioned Adrienne's surprising choice of partner. Business associates who couldn't hide their disdain when Darius accompanied Adrienne to functions. The worst was Adrienne's father, Preston Harrison, the man who'd built Harrison Global, who'd been planning to pass it to his daughter since birth, who'd retired early to give her control. "You're dating the help?" Preston's voice was incredulous when they told him. "Adrienne, what are you thinking?" "I'm thinking I found someone who loves me for me, not my money or my name." Adrienne's voice was calm but firm. "Daddy, you taught me to value people by their character, not their job title. Darius has more character than anyone I've ever dated. He was a janitor. He was a janitor this company exploited for 12 years. A man who showed up every day despite grief and poverty and obstacles you can't imagine. A man who's now revolutionizing how we treat our employees. A good man who I happen to love." "You love him?" Preston looked at Darius, really looked at him for the first time. You love my daughter? With everything I have, Darius said quietly. I know I'm not what you imagined for her. I don't have money or connections or an MBA. But I see her, sir. I see the woman behind the CEO title. And I love that woman. Completely. Preston was silent for a long time. Finally, he said, my father was a factory worker. Did you know that? Harrison Global started because he saved enough money to buy one small manufacturing plant. He built an empire from nothing. Preston's voice grew softer. I grew up being told I wasn't good enough because of where I came from. The old money families looked down on the factory worker's son. And when I succeeded, I swore I'd never look down on anyone for their background. He looked at Adrienne, then at Darius. I broke that promise today. I'm sorry. To both of you. Daddy, Adrienne started. Let me finish. Darius, you make my daughter happy. I see it in her face. She's been lonely her whole life, isolated by wealth and expectations. You brought joy back. Preston extended his hand. I'd like to get to know you. The real you. Not the janitor or the supervisor. Just the man my daughter loves. Darius shook his hand, relief washing through him. I'd like that, sir. It wasn't perfect after that. Some board members remained hostile. Some of Adrienne's social circle dropped her. Photographers followed them, trying to capture scandalous moments. But Darius and Adrienne faced it together. Two people from different worlds building a bridge with love, respect, and stubborn determination. Do you regret it? Darius asked one night, holding Adrienne after a particularly brutal society event where multiple people had snubbed them. Dating me? Dealing with all this judgment? Never. Adrienne kissed him fiercely. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. Anyone who can't see that isn't worth my time. I love you. I love you too. Forever. 1 year after that rainy day when Darius fixed Adrienne's shoe, he decided to propose, not with a fancy ring he couldn't afford, not at an expensive restaurant where he'd feel out of place, but in the spot where it all started, outside Harrison Global Tower, on the sidewalk where he'd knelt in the rain. He told Adrienne to meet him there at 6 p.m. on a Friday. She arrived confused but intrigued. Why are we standing in front of my building? She asked. Because this is where it started, Darius said, his heart pounding. 1 year ago, I was fired. I had $37 to my name. I was standing right here in the rain, thinking my life was over. Darius, then you stumbled. Your shoe got stuck, and I knelt down to help you, even though I was drowning in my own problems. Because helping people was something Simone taught me, that even in your darkest moment, you can still be kind. Adrienne's eyes filled with tears. You were a stranger then, someone whose shoe needed fixing. You could have been anyone, Darius's voice thick with emotion. But you weren't just anyone. You were the woman who'd change my life, who'd see me as more than a janitor, who'd promote me, believe in me, love me despite every reason we shouldn't work. He knelt again, in the exact spot where he'd knelt before, and pulled out a ring box. Adrienne Harrison. A year ago, I was broken, jobless, grieving, convinced good things were behind me. Then you stumbled into my life, and everything changed. You gave me a job, yes, but more importantly, you gave me hope. You taught me I could love again. You showed me that life after loss can still be beautiful. Darius opened the box. The ring was modest. He'd saved for months, but janitor turned supervisor money only went so far. It's not much. I know you could buy yourself a diamond the size of a golf ball. But this ring represents me, my love, everything I have to offer. Will you marry me? Adrienne was crying openly now, mascara running, not caring that people were staring. Yes, of course, yes. Darius slid the ring on her finger, and Adrienne pulled him up into a kiss that felt like a promise. Around them, people applauded, strangers witnessing a moment of pure love on a Seattle sidewalk. It's perfect, Adrienne whispered, looking at the ring. You're perfect. This is perfect. I'm far from perfect. Perfect for me. That's all that matters. Adrienne kissed him again. Darius Coleman, I can't wait to be your wife. That night, they celebrated at the taco truck where they'd had their first non-work date. Nothing fancy, just them, tacos, and happiness that felt too big to contain. My father will want to throw us an engagement party, Adrienne warned. A big one, with everyone from the business world. Can we survive that? We've survived worse. We can survive champagne and canapes. Adrienne squeezed his hand. Besides, I want to show you off. My fiancé, the man I'm going to spend my life with, even though people will judge. Especially then. Let them see that love doesn't care about bank accounts or job titles. Let them see us being happy despite their narrow minds. The engagement party was indeed massive. 200 guests, an orchestra, champagne that cost more per bottle than Darius used to make in a week. He felt out of place in his rented tuxedo, surrounded by millionaires and business moguls who looked at him like he was an imposter. But Adrienne never left his side. She introduced him proudly, shut down every condescending comment with icy precision, and made it clear. Darius Coleman was her choice, her love, her future. You're brave, Preston told Darius during a quiet moment. Standing here, facing all this judgment. Most men would have walked away. I almost did. Multiple times. But Adrienne's worth fighting for. Yes, she is. Preston clapped him on the shoulder. Welcome to the family, son. The moment that broke Darius came unexpectedly. A society woman, dripping in diamonds, wealthy beyond measure, cornered him near the bar. So tell me, Mr. Coleman, what attracted you to Adrienne? Was it her personality? Or her billion-dollar net worth? Before Darius could respond, Adrienne materialized at his side. Let me answer that. What attracted Darius to me was the fact that I was a person in need, and he helped without asking what he'd get in return. Unlike most people in this room, who calculate the worth of every interaction, Darius saw a stranger with a stuck shoe and helped. That's who he is. That's why I love him. And that's why he's a better person than you'll ever be. The woman fled. Darius pulled Adrienne close, overwhelmed with love and gratitude. Thank you for defending me. Always. You're mine to defend. I'm yours, Darius agreed. Forever. They married 6 months later in a ceremony that reflected both their worlds. The venue was elegant but not ostentatious. A garden overlooking Puget Sound. The guest list was carefully curated. People who genuinely supported them, not just business obligations. Darius's side of the church was filled with former janitorial colleagues, neighbors from his South Seattle apartment building, friends from his old life. Adrienne's side held board members, business associates, and the society people who'd come around. But the middle was where the real friends sat. People from both worlds who'd seen their love and celebrated it. Preston walked Adrienne down the aisle, tears streaming down his face. Take care of her, he whispered to Darius. With my life. When they exchanged vows, they spoke from the heart. Darius, Adrienne began, her voice strong despite her tears. You knelt in the rain to help a stranger. You've been kneeling ever since, to lift me up, to support me, to show me what real strength looks like. Strength isn't power or money. It's kindness when you have nothing to give. It's helping others despite your own pain. It's loving openly despite judgment. You are the strongest man I've ever known. I promise to spend our lives kneeling together, for each other, for justice, for love. Darius's voice was rough with emotion. Adrienne, I was broken when we met. Fired, grieving, convinced my life was over. Then you stumbled, and I helped without thinking. That moment of kindness, extended when I had nothing left to give, changed everything. You saw past the uniform to the man underneath. You promoted me not as charity, but as recognition of worth. You loved me not despite my past, but because of who I am. I promised to spend our lives showing you that your faith in me was justified, that love can bridge any divide, that a janitor and a CEO can build something beautiful together. When they kissed, the applause was thunderous. Genuine celebration from people who'd watched them fight for this moment. At the reception, Darius danced with his new wife, marveling at the impossibility of it all. 1.5 years ago, he'd been mopping floors. Now he was married to the CEO, surrounded by people celebrating their love. What are you thinking? Adrienne asked, sensing his wonder. That fairy tales are real, that good things can happen to broken people. that you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. You're the best thing that's happened to me too. And Darius, this is just the beginning. We're going to build an incredible life together. They did. Over the next few years, they transformed Harrison Global into a model of ethical business. They created programs for employees to advance regardless of their starting position. They championed diversity and inclusion, not as buzzwords, but as core values. Darius became Chief Operations Officer, overseeing all facilities, human resources, and employee development. He never forgot where he came from, and he made sure Harrison Global never exploited another worker the way they'd exploited him. Adrienne continued as CEO, but with Darius as her partner, she was bolder, kinder, more willing to prioritize people over profit. Together, they had 2 children, a daughter named Simone, after Darius's late wife, Adrienne's idea, and a son they called Preston. They raised their children to understand both sides of their heritage, the privilege of wealth and the dignity of working-class roots, to value people by their character, not their bank account, to help when they see someone struggling, even when it costs them something. "Tell us the story again," little Simone asked one bedtime. "About how you met." Darius and Adrienne exchanged glances. Then Darius began, "Well, sweetheart, I was having the worst day of my life. I'd just been fired from my job as a janitor, and I was rushing to a meeting." Adrienne continued, "My shoe got stuck in a grate on the sidewalk, and Daddy knelt down in the rain to help, even though he was sad and scared. And I didn't know he was the same man my company had just fired. I just knew he was kind. And that kindness changed everything," Darius finished. "Because sometimes the smallest act of goodness can lead to the biggest miracles." "Like love?" Simone asked. "Exactly like love." 10 years after that rainy day, Darius and Adrienne stood outside Harrison Global Tower with a film crew. They were being interviewed for a documentary about workplace transformation and unlikely love stories. "So, Mr. Coleman," the interviewer asked, "when you knelt to fix Ms. Harrison's shoe that day, did you have any idea she was the CEO?" "None. I just saw someone who needed help." Darius smiled at the memory. "I'd just been fired. I was broke, grieving, at rock bottom. But helping her, that moment of choosing kindness over self-pity, that changed everything. Ms. Harrison, or should I say, Mrs. Coleman, what went through your mind when you realized the kind man who'd helped you was the same employee your company had wrongfully terminated?" "Shame," Adrienne said honestly. "Guilt that my company had treated this good man so poorly. And then determination. Determination to make it right, to fix the systemic problems that had led to his firing, to ensure Harrison Global never exploited another employee that way. But it became more than just making it right, didn't it?" Adrienne looked at Darius, love shining in her eyes. "I fell in love with his character, with the man who helped a stranger despite having every reason to focus on his own problems, with someone who saw me as a person, not a CEO or a bank account. Darius taught me that real strength is kindness, that real value is character, that real love crosses any boundary." The interviewer turned to Darius. "You faced significant criticism for this relationship. People said you were a gold digger using Ms. Harrison for her money. How did you handle that?" "It hurt," Darius admitted, "especially the racial aspect. The comments about a black man taking advantage of a white woman, about not knowing my place. But Adrienne never wavered. She stood by me, defended us, made it clear that our love was real. And eventually, most people came around. Our relationship forced people to examine their own biases about class and race." "What would you say to other couples facing similar judgment?" Adrienne answered, "That love is worth fighting for. That societal expectations and class barriers are constructs we can choose to ignore. That 2 people from any background can build something beautiful if they value each other's humanity over everything else. And," Darius added, "that small acts of kindness matter. Helping a stranger might seem insignificant, but that moment, me kneeling to fix Adrienne's shoe, led to everything. A job, a partnership, a love that defied odds. So help people, even when you're struggling, especially then. You never know what doors that kindness will open." The documentary aired to critical acclaim. It sparked conversations about workplace equity, class barriers, and the power of looking beyond someone's job title to see their worth. But for Darius and Adrienne, the real victory was simpler. They'd built a life together, a family, a legacy of kindness, justice, and love that transcended every obstacle. "Do you ever think about that day?" Adrienne asked one evening, watching their children play in their backyard. "Every day. Best, worst day of my life." "Mine too." "How's this story hitting you so far? Tell us in the comments. If you're loving it, type 1. If not, type 0. We want to know what you think. 15 years after that rainy encounter, Darius stood before a crowd at a university, giving the commencement speech. "Graduates," he began. 15 years ago, I was fired from my job as a janitor. I had $37 in my bank account. I was 43 years old, widowed, in debt, and convinced my best days were behind me. The crowd listened intently. That day, in the rain, feeling like a failure, I saw a woman struggling with her shoe. I could have walked away, focused on my own problems, but I'd been taught that you help people when you can, even when you're hurting, especially then. Darius smiled. That woman was Adrienne Harrison, CEO of the company that had just fired me. I didn't know it then. I just knew she needed help. So I knelt in the rain and freed her shoe from the grate. He paused for effect. That moment of kindness changed my life. Adrienne investigated why I'd been fired. She discovered discrimination, corrected it, promoted me. We fell in love, got married, and together we've spent 15 years transforming Harrison Global into a company that values people. Darius looked at the graduates. "But here's what I want you to understand. It wasn't kneeling to fix a shoe that changed my life. It was choosing kindness when I had nothing to give. It was seeing someone's humanity despite my own pain. It was refusing to let my circumstances make me bitter." His voice grew passionate. "You're graduating into an unfair world. A world with class barriers, racial prejudice, and systems designed to keep some people down. You'll face rejection, failure, moments where you feel broken and worthless. And in those moments, you'll have a choice. Become bitter or remain kind. Choose kindness. Choose to help people even when you're struggling. Choose to see others' humanity even when they don't see yours. Choose to act with integrity even when it costs you something. Because you never know what doors that kindness will open, what connections you'll make, what love you'll find." Darius looked at Adrienne in the front row, their children beside her. I knelt to fix a shoe. That kindness led to a job, a partnership, a love story that defied every odd. It led to children who are being raised to value character over class. It led to a company that now leads the industry in employee equity. It led to a life I never imagined possible. He addressed the graduates directly. "So when you face your worst day, and you will, remember this. You're never too broken to be kind. You're never too poor to help others. You're never too low to maintain your dignity, because the person you help today might be the person who helps you tomorrow. The kindness you show might be the thing that changes everything. Kneel when necessary. Help when you can. Love without conditions. And trust that even in your darkest moment, good things are possible. Because they are. I'm living proof." The standing ovation lasted minutes, but Darius barely noticed. He was looking at his wife, his children, the life he'd built from nothing. All because he'd knelt in the rain to fix a stranger's shoe. After the speech, a young woman approached him, clearly struggling financially based on her worn clothes and tired eyes. "Mr. Coleman, I'm about to graduate with $100,000 in debt. No job lined up. I'm scared. How did you keep going when things were bad?" Darius recognized himself in her. One day at a time, one act of kindness at a time. Don't let circumstances define your character. Help others when you can. Be the person you needed when you were struggling. He handed her his business card. "Email me your resume. Harrison Global is always looking for good people. Character matters more than credentials." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you. You have no idea what this means." "I have every idea. Someone did the same for me once. Now I'm paying it forward." That night, at home with Adrienne, Darius reflected on the journey. From janitor to COO. From broke and broken to happy and whole. From convinced love was over to building a family. Do you ever regret it? Adrienne asked. The hard parts? The judgment we faced? Never. Every struggle was worth it for this. For you. For our life. Darius pulled her close. You gave me a chance when I had nothing. You saw potential in a man cleaning floors. You loved me despite every reason we shouldn't work. That's everything. You gave me authenticity when I was drowning in privilege. You showed me what real strength looks like. You loved me for me, not my money or my name. That's everything. They kissed. 15 years of love and struggle and triumph in that simple gesture. Thank you, Darius whispered, for stumbling that day, for getting your shoe stuck, for being the catalyst to everything good in my life. Thank you for kneeling, for helping, for showing me that good people still exist. Adrienne smiled. Best stuck shoe moment of my life. Best firing of mine. They laughed, holding each other, grateful for the rainy day that had brought them together. Outside, Seattle rain began to fall. The same rain that had been falling that fateful day. But this time, Darius wasn't standing in it alone and broken. He was home with the woman he loved, the family they'd built, and a future that proved fairy tales could be real. All because he'd chosen kindness in his darkest moment. All because Adrienne had chosen to look past job titles to see the man underneath. All because a broke janitor had knelt to fix a CEO's shoe, unaware that small act of service would lead to a love story that inspired thousands. That's the power of kindness. That's the magic of seeing people's humanity. That's what happens when you help someone, even when you have nothing to give. You might just change your entire life, and maybe theirs too.